Hey everybody, welcome to Cut, Transform, Glue. In this week's video, I'll work on the legs, and I warn you, this is going to be a controversial video. Now, of course, I'm kidding, but one of my goals this year is to be more open about my mistakes and hardships of my creative process. One of the most criticized aspects of my builds is the use of 3D printed parts. Now, of course, this is just a minority. The vast majority of the viewers is super supportive, and I thank you for that. So, of course, I won't waste too much time answering these folks, but rather focus on how 3D printing can help me to quickly solve the challenges of my builds. Like in this first 3D printed piece right here, this one will connect the legs to the belly of the aircraft, so this is why I included an M5 self-locking nut inside of it. This right here is already a good example of how 3D printing helps me not only with precise parts on a short amount of time, but also by being able to include things like nuts and bolts on my builds. I'm sure these connections will last a long time, and work preservation is super important to me. And this right here is why I hate super sharp drill bits. But anyways, I just had to repeat the same process and mistakes for all 4 legs. Now, instead of using super glue to attach all 4 pieces to the belly of the vessel, at this time I went with epoxy, quick-set epoxy to be more precise, which is much more stronger than CA glue. Now, unfortunately, it is a messier process. With the belly connection set, I went for the best prototyping material, which is of course cardboard. My goal of course with this process is to find the best size and geometry for the legs using this material, which is much easier to work with than any other. After a while of experimenting, I settled with this simple 2-segmented leg design with this crooked top section. My goal with this piece is to just give the aircraft the ability to land on uneven terrain, or at least the idea of it. The crooked section will be a challenge, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. One of my favorite ways to build legs is using some laser cut acrylic pieces. On this particular design, as you can see, I made some slits all across the shape so I can break it to the size I need. I guess I could cut it with a saw, but breaking it is much faster. I did some light sanding on the surfaces of the pieces, and then I glued them together with some CA glue just to be able to reach the thickness that I wanted for the legs. And then came the next 3D printed piece. This one, of course, will be responsible to make that angle that I did using the cardboard prototype. And of course, I designed it using the measurements from the acrylic piece. All of these pieces were then connected using CA glue. And then I used the part that I break for the remaining length of the leg. As you can see, I'm constantly sanding the pieces, and this is just to increase the surface area and remove some imperfections from the laser cutting process. And that first crooked leg segment will be connected to this other 3D printed piece right here. This is the one that makes the interface from the leg to the belly of the aircraft. Then I went looking for some pieces to add detail to that first leg segment and found some old keyboard keys that looked very good. I first marked the surface just to be as precise and aligned as possible, and then I attached the piece. And then using a Q-tip, I removed the extra CA glue. Just like I do with the acrylic shapes, I sometimes print some generic designs that can be used on multiple projects, like these simple gusset pieces. These are printed on ABS, which is much easier to work with than PLA, and I can just cut them to the size I need, do some light sanding, and they are ready to go. I included a big one on the top and bottom of the leg segment. And on the other side of the crooked portion, I went with a smaller gusset piece. Again, those were cut and sanded to the size I needed and glued in place with CA glue. And after that, I went for some quick little surface details. Like this right here, some thin 1mm styrene discs that I make myself using my drill press that are very good for some quick surface detailing. I just attach them to the surface of the model using CA glue, and then I do some light sanding to kind of break the edges a little. And this right here is the result, the first leg segment, and I managed to make the crooked aspect of it just perfectly, so yeah, I'm happy about it. Now, of course, let me attach everything to the aircraft and see how things are going, see if the size is correct, test the mobility and everything else, before I commit to it and move to the next segment. With everything working, I could move to the next segment and then to the foot. Now the next section, I actually begin with the foot using this gribbly right here, which can be easily found on the streets here where I live. It needed a ball joint to the ankle so it can adapt to the terrain, so I went again with a 3D printed piece. A tiny, simple one this time. For the ball of the ball joint, I went with a simple bead. I re-drilled all of the holes to match a 4mm steel shaft. Installed it using some brute force and cut the excess. It's always exciting to see some sparks, and I'm not sure exactly why. But anyways, the rest of that leg segment is a ton of 3D printing, so please, haters, calm down. But it is pretty soothing to see all of these lines coming together, isn't it? Everything is of course attached together using some M4 bolts, so I can add some tension to the thing. Now, before I show the end result, let's put some work on the turbines. The two side turbines were pretty much finished, but I had this center hole right here that looked kinda weird and I needed to take care of it. I had a couple of interesting white gribblies that I don't know the source of, and so far then I made a matching piece. I inserted them on the 3D printed piece using some brute force, and then we're looking for some tiny little details to go right in the middle right there. And then I of course attached that structure to the hole using more sea glue. And this is all I was able to do on the Dragonfly this week. Nice additions to the project that gets it a bit closer to the finishing line. But of course I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about these legs and the turbines, of course. A special thanks to all of my Patreons and YouTube members. Please check the links in the description so you can support this channel, and as always, thanks for watching.